Okay, let's get back to our model we started in our last video, and we'll move to the cam section. Now we have to create a new setup before we start creating any toolpaths. So we go up here and select new setup. Come over here to the dialog box, and operation type is milling is correct. Our model orientation is actually correct. We have our Z height going up, X to the right, and Y to the right there. Well, actually to the back. This being the front. This will be the front of our vise when we have it in the mill. So the orientation is correct for the X, Y, and Z axis. The origin point we want to be at the very center of the part. So we will select the model origin because that's where our model origin was. Then we move over to the stock tab, and as you can see, it's showing a box around our part that's just a little bit bigger than the part. We don't really need that, so we can select from solid, and then we have to choose our solid because it says nothing has been selected. So we just click on our part, and now it has selected our model part as the stock solid. So we don't need to do anything with post-process right now, so we'll click OK on that. Now we start our milling operations. First thing we want to do is drill this hole, but I'm not going to use a drill bit. I'm going to use a Endmill, but I'm going to use a drilling operation. So I'll select drilling and drill. And the first thing we need to do is select a tool. So we click select, and I already have some tools open, and I have my tools right here that I can select from. First one is a 1/4 inch flat end mill, which is what we're going to use. So we select that and click OK. Our spindle speed is kind of irrelevant for what we're doing. It's showing 10,000 RPM, but our mill won't go that fast. Main thing we're interested in is our feed rate and plunge rate, which is set at 15, so that's okay. We don't need flood coolant, so we'll just select disabled, just so it doesn't put that operation in, turn that on in our G code. All right, then we select the tab for our geometry, and we select our geometry, which is going to be the hole. As you see, as I hover close to it, it kind of changes color and highlights it. So just click that, and you can see it's selected. These other selections here we don't need because we just have one hole, so we don't need any of those selected. Tool orientation is okay the way it is. Then we select our heights, and we can look at that from the front to see what that looks like. Go back to our isometric view. Everything looks okay there, except the clearance height is a little higher than I like, so I'm going to change that to 0.2, and I'm going to right click on it and make that a default, so that in the future it will make that 2/10 or 2/10 or 2/100 above the 2/10 above the retract height. Then we select our cycle. Go back to our isometric view and select our cycle type. You have all these to choose from. We're going to select chip breaking and change these to 0.125. accumulated depth is going to be a 1/2 inch. I think that'll work. And select OK. And let's test that out by doing a simulation. That looked okay. Look at it from the front and go to down here to the bottom and click wireframe. Click our simulation again, and you can see it peck drilling in there, and that looks fine. So we'll go back to our solid shaded model and our isometric view and close our simulation. So now we can select our second operation, which is going to be to mill out this recessed area, and we'll use a pocket operation under 2D pocket. And it saved our tool from the last operation, so we don't have to select that because we're going to use the same 1/4 inch end mill. All the speeds, the speed on this one is set at 40, which is okay for what we're doing in plastic. So we select our geometry by selecting the area here. We don't need any of this here, so we go on to our heights tab. We can change this to 0.2 again. I thought it would have saved it from the other one. It might be only saves it for that type of operation. We'll try it and see. And next will be passes. Left climate milling is what it's set to, is fine. 4/1000th tolerance is fine. Maximum step over is fine. So all that looks good. We will select multiple depths. No, I'm sorry, this one is so shallow we don't need multiple depths. And we don't need to leave any stock, so we're okay there. All we need is just as it is. Then we move to the linking tab, and allow rapid retract is okay, and I always like to keep this checked, to keep tool down. We don't need lead in, entry, and lead out because we're only plunging in a 32nd of an inch in plastic. And I don't want helix, I want to just plunge in, so I change that to plunge and click OK. Then we can go up here and click simulate and do a simulation again, and that shows how it's going to cut. Which is fine. We can close that, or we could select a different feature, click edit and go back to the passes and check this use morphed spiral machining and click OK, and that will change the toolpath. So instead of going around square and then offsetting and then going around square offsetting, it does it in one continuous motion. So we can simulate that to see what it looks like. And as you can see, it doesn't offset every time it makes a square, it just goes around and around. And then on the last pass it goes in the opposite direction for to clean up the edge. So I think we'll leave that one. Now our next operation is going to be to machine away the material on the ends here to get down to our feet level, top of our feet. So we select another pocket operation, and again we have the same tool selected as fine, and we click on geometry. I'm going to select this top edge here, and that shows the two wings here basically because there's stock here and there's stock here but nothing on the edges. So I could leave it at that and it would machine this side and then go over and machine this side, but I just want to do one side at a time because once it machines this I want to machine around the contour at the bottom here before it moves to the other side. So what I could do is just select this again and click open contour and the plus sign, and that will allow it to select just this side here. Of course, we don't want to cut up here. We want to cut from here down to here. So when we select our heights, we select our bottom height instead of the selected contour, which is up here. We click on that and select selection, and then select this surface here. And as you can see, the bottom moved down to that. So now it will machine from the top of the model down to that area there. So let's click on linking, allow rapid retract, keep tool down, lead in transitions is okay. I think we'll leave that at that for now. And ramp, we want to just plunge again, and click OK, and let's see what that looks like. We did something wrong. That toolpath doesn't look right. So let's go back to edit that. Oh, I know what I forgot to do. I forgot to do multiple depths. So we want to uncheck stock to leave and check multiple depths under the passes tab, and change that to 0.125, eighth of an inch. So it will step down in eighth of an inch increments. Also check use even step downs, so in case it, depending on your height that it has to cut down, it will divide it out and get as close to the eighth inch as possible, so you don't have eighth inch, and then maybe a 16th of an inch. It kind of divides it out equally. Now let's click OK and see what it looks like. Still doesn't look right, so let's edit again. Go back to our passes tab, and I forgot to check, where's it at? Both ways. Alright, let's check OK now. That's what it was. I forgot to check both ways. So now it's going to go back and forth across each layer and then go down and do it again. You can see it from the front. It's going to go down and back and forth till it gets this layer down, then this layer, this layer, this layer, and so forth. So that's what we want right there. So let's simulate that to see what that looks like. And this time when we simulate, I'm going to turn our toolpath off and turn our stock on, and change this mode to fast 3-axis, and change the material to plastic vinyl, just to get the color we can see better. And click start our simulation, and you can see it going back and forth, and then it steps down, goes back and forth again, and so forth. So that operation looks good. We'll close this. Now we'll go to the milling operation to mill around this here, this bottom, to form this contour here. So this time we'll click 2D and 2D contour. Again, our tool selection is the same. So we click on our geometry. Now this one's going to be a little more time consuming to select, since it is broken up into curves. So when we select, we want to start on this corner here, and we click it, it's selecting the whole perimeter, which we don't want. So you click it again, and you see how that little corner, the bold line went away. We select open contour and then the plus sign, and that selected just that one little radius corner. Now we're going to start here and work our way to the right. The arrow is showing going to the left, so that means our go to our passes tab, and it's set on left climb milling. If we change that to right conventional milling, it changes the direction, which will be the correct direction for what we want. So we'll go back to our geometry and select the next part, which will be this little flat area here. So select that and then select it again. Click Open Contour and plus sign. We'll move our model around a little bit so we can get to these other sides here and do the same thing. Select this radius corner, select it again, Open Contour plus this little flat here. Select that, click it again, Open Contour plus. Then our little radius in the corner, make sure you get right on it. Select it, click it again, Open Contour plus. Now we can move our model back around again a little bit. Select this straight section here, click it twice, Open Contour plus. Move just a hair more. Select this inside radius here, select it again, Open Contour plus. Then this little flat area right there, click it again, Open Contour plus. This radius corner, same process. This flat here, Open Contour plus, and our last little corner, move it around to make sure we get it selected correctly. Click again, Open Contour and plus. Now we have our geometry selected for milling around this. So we go to our heights tab, and this time we want to change our heights tab. Bottom height is okay, it's selected contour, which we selected along the bottom, is okay. And our top height is showing stock top. Well, we've already milled this part away, so we don't want to start way up here. We want to start right here. So we can change that to from stock top to selection and click that, and that should start at that level. Now we click passes, go down here to everything looks good there. We want to choose both ways again. We don't need roughing passes. We do want multiple depths. Again, we're going to change this maximum roughing step down to 1/8 of an inch, 0.125, and select use even step downs. We don't need rough final, so we can unselect that, and we don't need to order by island, so we can unselect that. Click our linking tab, select keep tool down, and I think everything else is okay. Click OK, and it shows our toolpath. So what we can do now is we can hold the shift key down and select both these and select simulate and start our simulation. Once it gets down to that level, it does our contour around the bottom, and we're done with the milling on this side. Click close. Now what we want to do is duplicate those two operations for our other side over here. So we can move this around using the shift and the center scroll wheel button. And we can take this last pocket operation, which is to clear this away, and we can duplicate it. You can right click and click duplicate. Now when you do that, it puts it right below the one you duplicated it from, but we want it to come after this contour, so you just click on it and hold the left mouse key down and just drag it down, and you see that little blue line there. Just make sure that blue line is showing above it. and now it moved it down below that. So this will be this area here cleared away, then our contour for the bottom over here, and now we have our pocket, which will be on this side. The toolpath is still showing over here, so all we have to do is click edit, and the only thing we have to change is the geometry. Everything else can stay the same because it's duplicated. So we click on geometry. Instead of choosing this side, we want to choose this side. So we click that and click it again, open contour and plus sign. Actually, let's change that. Where it says pocket selections, click X, so it's selecting nothing. Now we select this and click it again, open contour and plus, and we have just this one side here, and that should be the only thing we have to change. We click OK, and now we have our toolpath for this side. So before we simulate that, let's do the bottom edge again on this side, and then we'll simulate both of them. So we go to the contour we did for the other side of the model, and again right click and click duplicate, and again click on it and move it down below this last pocket, and click on it, right click and click edit, and now we select geometry, and instead of having this side over here selected, just click X for the, and that will do away with those, and now we can select the ones we want on this side. So we can start on either corner. Let's start on this corner and see what it looks like. That's showing that it's going the wrong direction. We could change that, but let's just instead uncheck that and start on this corner, and that's showing the right way. So we click it the second time again like we did on the other side and select open contour and plus, and same thing for each section, and work our way around this contour. Move our model around so we can get to the other side. I've done got that where I can't get to it very well, so let me see if I can move this around and get a little better angle at it. Now that one shows an arrow going the wrong way. I may have selected that, so let's delete that. Maybe it's this one I selected the wrong way. So let's select that again and click delete, because the arrow was pointing the wrong direction. So let's select it again. Now the arrow is going the right way. Select it the second time, click open contour and plus. Now this little flat area, open contour plus, it's following it around. So now our corner radius, our last straight section, and our final last radius corner, open contour and plus, and that's our contour for this side, which should be all we need to do, because we have the other things we changed duplicated from the original one. So click OK, and it creates our toolpath on this side. So now we can select these two operations. Once you click on one of them, hit Shift key and click on the second one and click on simulate. Let's speed that up a little bit before we start, and click start simulation. And there we have it. So we can click close that, bring our model around to the original side. So we've machined the hole, we've machined the recess, all this area here and around the feet on both sides. Okay, so now what we want to do is machine our groove for our gasket and the holes for our screw holes, or for our screws. And for this we're going to use a 3mm end mill because that's what our groove is. So I think I'm going to go ahead and start a second setup since we're changing tools and we don't have an automatic tool changer. If it did, we could just continue on. So let's do another setup, which will be, well, actually, let's see if we can duplicate the original one. Let's see if it'll let us duplicate. Yes, it did. So that's just duplicating the original setup, which is fine. Now we can select 2D, and we want to do a contour, which will be our groove, but we have to change our tool. So click select, and I'm going to click this, select this 0.11811, which is the 3mm end mill, and click OK. And if you don't have that, you can create it by selecting up here and create a new tool. So we click OK. Now we have our new sized end mill here. And again, disable our flood coolant. So we want to select our geometry now, which is going to be our groove. So let's zoom in a little closer here, and we can select this inside edge here. That's all we need to select. Then we select our heights tab. Everything looks okay here. Then our passes tab. Left climb milling is okay. We could probably get by with one pass, but let's do multiple depths because we're going 97 thousandths deep. So let's do 2 passes. So we'll select 0.050, which is 50 thousandths, and then select use even step downs. We can unselect rough final and order by islands. Then we select linking. Again, we want to keep tool down. We don't want lead ins or lead outs, so we unselect those and click OK. And now it's shown our toolpath. So we can okay, we need to move our toolpath down underneath this second setup. Where did it go? Well, I don't know what happened to our toolpath we just created. I can't seem to find it. But I think I know what I did. This setup up here is selected, so I need to select the second one here. And let's do that again. Click 2D contour. Our tool is correct. Select geometry. Select that toolpath, or that edge of the groove. Heights is okay. Passes. We want multiple depths. Change that to 50 thousandths. Unselect rough final and order by islands. And linking, check keep tool down. Uncheck lead in, entry, and lead out, and click OK. Well, it did something I wasn't expecting. It copied or duplicated all the toolpaths again, probably because I did a duplication on the setup. So these we can select Shift and select all these and hit delete. Our original first setup is okay. And now under our second setup, we have our groove here. Okay, so let's simulate that. Make sure that's looking okay. So that's cutting our groove, first pass and now second pass. And that looks okay, so we close that. Now what we want to do is machine these holes here. They're 3/16 hole, and our tool bit is 0.11811, so it's small enough where we can do that as a contour. So select 2D contour again, and under geometry we can select the hole, but we want to select the bottom of the hole. So if you move your pointer down to where the bottom of the hole highlights and select that, same thing for the other 3 holes, select that one. We can turn our model around, or if you want to, you could just flip it up to where you can see the bottom and just select them on the bottom right here like this. Might be a little easier. And you can put it back in its original position. Now all 4 holes are selected. Our heights tab is okay. Passes. Actually, our heights tabs, we want to go back because this is going to be machined away. We don't need to start drilling those holes from way up here at the top of the model. So on the top height, we can select selection again and select the top of the foot, so it will come down and start drilling from here instead of way up here. Under passes, everything looks good there. We want to do multiple depths again, and we'll select 1/8 of an inch again, 0.125, and uncheck rough final and order by islands, and select even step downs. Linking, again select keep tool down and uncheck lead ins and lead out, and click OK. And there's our tool pass for the 4 holes. So we can simulate that. This time let's turn the stock off and just run it, and you can see it goes down and it starts right here to drill the hole, and it drills and it moves over to the other side and drills those 2 holes, and that's it. So we're pretty much done with all our tool paths. Again, let's simulate the whole thing up here from the beginning. So we select all 4 of these, or 5 of these, and select simulate, turn our stock back on, and simulate. Drilled our hole, now it's milling the recess. Now it's going to machine the excess material away on this end. Now it's going to start the contour to cut out the feet shape. Move over to the other side and mill the excess material away on that side. Okay, now let's double check these two toolpaths, simulate those. And everything looks pretty good. So we are ready to post-process, which will create the G-code. So let's select the first setup first, all the operations that will be with the 1/4 inch end mill. Select all of those and click post-process. I got a message here. I think we can click OK. Yes, there. And it created this folder here to store the files in. I don't want that, so what I'm going to do is change that to just users and Robert. I think that's the way I had it before. Now, right here, we'll put in our program name. So we're going to do 3 by 3 by 1 pod. Be close enough. Now, over here, these are all some defaults. And there's a few in here I want to change. I want right here at sequence number increment, I want to be just 1 instead of 5. And I want to start our sequence number at 1. And use sequence numbers. The default is no. I want to choose yes. And this G28 safe retract, that's yes. I think I selected no on that. Use M6, which is a tool change we don't need because we're going to use separate operations, so we can select no there. And I think that's it as far as changing anything. So now we click post, and there's some other ones that I have. So it will save it there. And it also brings up this, it shows all the G-code right here. So you could make some changes here if you needed to. But I don't think we need to make any changes, so we can click, just X that out. Now our second operation is going to be with our other end mill, the 3mm end mill, so we can select these two toolpaths. Again, select post-process. And it should have saved the ones we changed here, and it did. So we want to name this. We have to change the name so we don't have two of the exactly same names. So we'll do 3 by 3 by 1 pod and just put in groove and click post and save. And there's the G code for this is for the groove for the gasket, and this contour is for the screw holes. Close that, and we are done. So whenever you want to machine it, you just go to your folder where you stored these files and put it on a thumb drive or whatever, and put it in your machine or computer for your machine, and run it on Mach 3 or whatever you have. So that's it for this video. Our next video, we will actually go to the milling machine and we'll cut our plastic and put it in a vise and mill it. So stay tuned for that, and thanks for watching.